Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me for another Life in Basketball. And today, I'm here to talk about the teams in the NBA. I'm not trying to be depressing, but the teams in the NBA, in my opinion, that are probably some of the most disappointing teams. Now, some of these teams on the list were destined not to do well this season, but to me, they're not destined to do well in any season in the coming future. Now, some of these teams are playoff teams, where some of them aren't. But I'll give them the reason. I'll give you the reason in a few moments why they're on my list. The number one team on my list. I shouldn't say the number one team. I'll say the team that I'm going to start with in the Eastern Conference, the Charlotte Hornets. Now, the Charlotte Hornets is a team that I had high hopes for. They have enough talent to be in the playoffs, but they aren't in the playoffs. And when you see teams like the Indiana Pacers, when you see teams like the Miami Heat, when you see teams with, in my opinion, less talent, being able to make it into the playoffs and compete, you have to look at the Charlotte Hornets and just hold your head down and just be like, what's going on? I mean, really. Kemba Walker is a good enough point guard to get you into the playoffs. Dwight Howard is a good enough veteran center that can still play defense and give you a little bit of offense to get you into the playoffs. Frank Kaminsky is a good enough guy off the bench, stretch forward, to get you into the playoffs. Nicholas Batum is a good enough two guard or small forward, depending on where you want to put him, to get you into the playoffs. Not to mention Jeremy Lamb and Malik Monk, who they drafted in this past year's draft. And with all that said, they're not anywhere near the playoff hunt, and it was something for me. I looked at it and I was just like, why is this going on? And I'm not going to dump on Michael Jordan. It's too easy to do that. I know he's made improvements as an owner in the sense of not making dumb decisions. I don't want to say dumb, but rash decisions, paying athletes, maybe taking on contracts he shouldn't have. But to me, I think they drafted well. I like Malik Monk. I think Kemba Walker was a decent pick back in the, what was it, the 2010 draft. I think he was in the 2010 draft or 2011 draft. Yeah, it was the 2011. It's 2011. He was in that 2011 draft, I believe. They have enough players to make some noise, but I don't know if it's the coach. I don't know if it's just the chemistry. I'm not sure what it is, but hopefully there's some changes that happen, and they can right the ship. But right now, I don't see that happening. I would like to see that happen, because I like to see players and teams that have on paper seemingly a talented enough squad to make it to the playoffs, and go do well against good competition. And when you don't see it, it's disappointing as an NBA fan. It just is. The next team on my list, I'm going to say in the East, and this team is in the playoffs, is the Milwaukee Bucks. The reason why the Milwaukee Bucks is on my list is because of the disappointment from the front office in surrounding Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, with talent to be able to get into the playoffs. I mean, this guy is amazing. He is a franchise player, but yet they're not building around him properly, and it's sad. It's sad. And I know Jabari Parker has been injured. If you don't know Jabari Parker, he was drafted in the 2014 draft, and he's a small forward out of Duke. He was injured, and he's just now getting healthy, and they're actually talking about trading him, which is fine. But if you're going to trade a player, a young prospect, trade him for another young prospect or a proven veteran player. Make some good front office moves. And if I'm a Milwaukee Bucks fan, if I live in Milwaukee or just love Milwaukee and been in purgatory because the front office doesn't know what they're doing, and we have a great player, I'm pulling my hair out. If I have any hair at all, I'm getting upset, because again, Giannis. If you guys haven't seen Giannis Antetokounmpo, this dude is amazing. He's an incredible player, and to not have talent around him so that he can make it to the playoffs and really show what he can do it's just sad. I mean, they're in the playoffs, but they're not gonna. It's not going to be as competitive as it should be. Whoever they play, they're just going to unfortunately probably get swept. All right, the next team on my list. Let's go to the West. Yeah, the Phoenix Suns. Woo, man, it pains me to talk about the Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker is a good player, a good young prospect, a really good player. Can shoot the three, Looks like he can put the ball on the floor a little bit. He's a gamer. The other players, I think Marquise Chris, I think that's one of the forwards on the team. Josh Jackson, who I was big on out of Kansas last year. He's a Detroit native. He's a good player. But again, it's another situation with the front office. The team is arguably probably will pick up a great young player in this year's draft. They're going to have the number 1, 2, or 3, maybe 4 pick in the draft. And either way, it's going to be a good player. But they're not going to know what to do. And unfortunately, it's not a situation where, they're getting young players, they're moving in the right direction. No, with Phoenix, it's not that way. And here's a telltale sign to anybody who has watched the NBA, or even if you don't watch the NBA. When you hear people talk about players getting traded, this player got traded, this player got traded, this player got traded. The Phoenix Suns, in the past 5 years, have traded players who have now been in the playoffs and had several playoff runs and had success on other teams. Isaiah Washington with Boston, Marcus Morris and Markieff Morris, both one in Boston, one in DC for the Wizards. Playoffs. Eric Bledsoe, who's now with Washington, but playoffs. But Eric Bledsoe was good when he was with the Clippers. So, and not to mention, there's Eric Gordon, who's in Houston. I mean, they've had talent, but they don't. It's, again, as an NBA fan, you look at it, it's like, what is the front office doing? For anybody who yells at players and talks about this player's a bum, this player's a bum, believe me, look at the front office. Start screaming at the front office, because if you don't have a front office with a vision and a plan, doesn't matter if you have young Michael Jordan, a young Kobe Bryant, a young Dwayne Wade, LeBron, you name it, they are not going to know what to do with that player. They're not going to know how to build around him. And that's what you have with the Phoenix Suns. The next team on that list is the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, Memphis is probably the only team on the list that really is in a really, 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 really bad situation, because it's partly to do with personnel, but partly to do with contracts. They've given three players max contracts. I mean, close to max contracts. And when you're giving average players max contracts, your hands are tied. You're not going to be able to do anything. And that's what the Memphis Grizzlies have done with Mike Conley Jr., who is good but not great. Marc Gasol, who is really good but not great. And Chandler Parsons. Chandler Parsons, who is rarely healthy. Rarely healthy. I'm not knocking him because he got his money, but that dude is rarely healthy. I mean, the dude is making like $22 million a year. Hardly playing. So, Memphis has great barbecue, but a horrible organization. I've been to Memphis. I had Memphis barbecue. Not the pork, but the chicken and the briskets. Wow, beautiful. But the team, the Memphis Grizzlies, the organization, horrible. Horrible. And this is a team that's made to Western Conference Finals with veteran players. And have had good... Look, this is the other thing about Memphis. They've had great coaches. They've had really Hollins. I forget the other guy's name, who was a former coach at the Miami Heat. But bottom line, they've had two, that's really four, but two good coaches. Still don't know what to do. Don't know what to do. So, and that gets under my skin, again, as an NBA fan. I like to see smart decisions, good moves. If you got good players and a good coaching staff, stay with it. Good Lord, stay with it. Okay, honorable mentions on this list. The Denver Nuggets. Again, they're in the playoffs. Well, actually, they're out of the playoffs right now. They still could play their way in, but they've been lost ever since they traded Carmelo. That's the organization that tries to put it on the player, but again, when the front office and the coach don't know what they're doing, you have a situation where they're in a limbo. They have a good coach, so they have a good head coach, but the front office, I don't know what the front office is doing. Denver, I said Denver, and another honorable mention in the Eastern Conference, which again is disappointing, is probably Chicago. Chicago, to me, should be better than what they are. They have young talent. They've had some injuries, and again, I'm not expecting them to make the playoffs. They were one of my better teams as far as hopes of getting better. And I don't know if Fred Hoiberg's the right guy, but they have young talent on that team, and I just feel like they should be playing better, and they're not there. So again, they're not on the list, but they're honorable mentions, and they're teams to look at. Hopefully, they'll turn it around. But after the offseason, after the draft, we'll see what all these teams do. Some of these teams have multiple draft picks. Some of them have cap space, so they might make moves in the draft, and they might do some things in free agency. Either way, just wait and see. Again, this is your boy David Harper with another Life in Basketball. Again, if you like the page, subscribe. I got my YouTube subscribe button. I'm not a little crazy. I got my YouTube subscribe button somewhere around here. So look, thanks for watching. Take care. I got another video coming soon. Talk to y'all later. Peace.